I have missed doing this. I'm excited to get back to...
Oh, me too.
Oh, man. All right.
Okay, we ready to do intro?
Yeah, go.
Hi everyone, welcome to Coats and Jackets, and this is Kimberly.
And this is Mandy.
And we're back for Wizarding World Book Club.
Sorry there's been a little bit of a hiatus. I've been extremely busy with my personal life, but we're trying to get back on track.
Yeah, you know what? Wet hair, don't care. It's just like a timing thing. We'll fit it in wherever we can.
So we're going to try and do a weekend here where we upload a couple of different videos and get back on track so that we can be back on the timeline for the book club.
We're going to be a little behind, but it'll be closer.
we're going to see what we can do. It's summer. We have things to do. This week it is education.
Yeah, this is our theme, education. So last week's theme was first impressions.
Mm-hmm.
And as with every video, we're going to start with the Twitter questions from the week previous. So this will relate to last week's, or well, a couple weeks for us now, but the last theme.
And the first question was, in your opinion, what makes Harry believe that he is a wizard? And you go, what do you think?
We did kind of touch on this a bit already.
We did, yes, yeah.
We were sort of discussing his first impression of the Wizarding World and when he believed he finally fit in somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we sort of came to the conclusion that he didn't really believe all this was happening and real to him until he was on the train.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't feel like he really belonged until he finished the sorting.
Mm-hmm.
So the train is probably where he finally accepts, because he's made it through the platform, then he's officially a wizard.
Yeah. I think, you know, before that he was just, felt like he was on just this wild ride. You know, he's with Hagrid, they're going through Diagon Alley, you know.
It's all happening so fast.
Everything's happening so fast, and anything that would really get him away from the Dursleys. So I kind of feel like, yeah, it was that moment, you know, when he really starts to believe it. Like you said, when he gets on the train and he's heading towards Hogwarts, and when, you know, you pass through that 9 3/4 and there's that first...
That was the last hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it became a little more real, like we said, when he's going through the bank and he hears there's a dragon and he's getting his school supplies and he's getting excited for school.
Mm-hmm.
But he just wasn't sure about that last thing, whether or not he was going to actually make it through the platform, and I feel like that was the final test.
Yeah, yeah. Like, is this actually real, or will I have to go back to live with the Dursleys? Mm-hmm. Well, the second question, who do you think is the most trustworthy character so far?
And we did talk a little bit about trustworthy and first impressions with different people, and how some seemed more trusting than others, like Hagrid.
But for yourself, personally, like, who do you think is the most trustworthy?
That's a really tough question, but you know what? I'm going to have to go with McGonagall.
I was going to say McGonagall.
No way!
Yeah.
We did not discuss this beforehand, by the way.
100%. And the reason why I think is McGonagall, like, for one thing, she's the first witch that you really witness as a cat in the book. And she...
It's total concern for Harry. Yes. Everyone else is celebrating. And the first thing she does is check out the new place where she thinks he might be kept. She has the big discussion with Dumbledore to make sure that it's true, that this is really happening.
She's so concerned for Harry from the very beginning, and Harry's family. And that, in my mind, just really, like, cements for me
Absolutely.
McGonagall, and there's something that we'll probably talk about a little further in education here. It's the same thing, just keeps cementing it for me.
I mean, Harry ends up with a number of parent-like figures, and as much as he grows close to Dumbledore and idolizes Dumbledore, Dumbledore is not really a father figure, and Hagrid is a bit too scattered, we'll say, to be a father figure. Hagrid is more of a best friend.
Yes. With
McGonagall and Mrs. Weasley, I feel like with both of those characters, and as we get to see them more and how they interact with Harry, it's like he has two mothers.
Or
they're like his parents in a way.
I always thought of McGonagall as more as like your grandmother. She always wants to make sure
or like the great aunt.
Or the great aunt. She's making sure that, you know, you got everything you need. and worrying about you. But as where Mrs. Weasley is just like, here, I knit you this sweater. Let me make sure that you have everything you need for sure. But for sure, McGonagall definitely, I think, is the most trustworthy character right from the beginning. She's very honest about her opinions, and she wants to look after Harry.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
She definitely only has what she thinks will be his best interests in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason she goes along with any of Dumbledore's suggestions is because they have a history together and she trusts him so much.
Mm-hmm. The third question is, what are Draco and Harry's similarities/differences?
And this one is the question that sparks our next topic, which is education.
Yes. Learned/practical education. Right? So the what you learn in school versus what is practical in real life, really.
Yeah, what you get from your experiences out of life is part of your education.
Mm-hmm.
How you grow up is part of your education.
Mm-hmm.
And this, for us, is what the main difference between Draco and Harry is. Because
Yes.
as many differences as they have, the biggest one being that Draco still has all of his family. And his family is very, well, for the most part, fairly loving towards him, but not always. It's also abusive in a similar way that Harry's is.
Yes.
Or the one he comes to know. It's just he's lost his parents and Draco hasn't.
Yes.
And that is our biggest difference between the two characters. Because the other biggest difference is all in how they're brought up. Because they could have very easily been the same character.
Yes. So, in the first chapter of the book, Dumbledore actually says the reason why he's leaving him with the Durslys is because of the fact that he's afraid that if Harry grows up in the wizard world, he'll be famous before he can walk. And he's concerned that his head will grow too big and that he won't be a good wizard because he will be too famous.
He'll be relying on family name to get him through.
Mm-hmm.
He won't practice, he won't work hard, and he'll just in general, like you said, he'll be too famous. He'll have a big head about it.
And who does that sound like?
That sounds exactly like Draco. Mr. Important, I come from the best wizarding family, and I have money, and Harry has lots of money.
Harry has lots of money, which he doesn't really know, but he has lots of money as well. And I feel like that's where the real similarities for Draco and Harry and the differences is that they very well could have been best friends. And as we talked about before, Harry could have been sorted into Slytherin. Like, they could have been best buddies growing up. He could have been, instead of Crab and Goyle.
So close a name.
I'm like, why don't I know that? Crab and Goyle.
It could have been him and Harry palling around.
It could have been him and Harry palling around. Do you know why I was thinking about Doyle? We live in Newfoundland, and there's a lot of people named Doyle.
There's a lot. That's a very common first and last name, interestingly enough.
Yes, exactly. So that's why I was thinking Doyle. Goyle, not so much. So I feel like they very well could have been, the terrors of Hogwarts, if Dumbledore hadn't gone the path he had and given him the horrible opportunity to grow up with
but not realizing just how bad that situation was going to be. Nobody could have really foreseen that too much. No. Although McGonagall does kind of say, going back to her trustworthiness, these people are terrible.
Yes, yeah. She pretty much says right from the beginning that they are the worst people that she could possibly think of to leave Harry with. And this is probably the best thing for Harry. We don't need a second Draco.
And as we're getting closer to the end of the book now, we're not quite there yet, we do want you to keep that in mind about the Dursleys, because there is a reason he's left there, and that's going to be obvious by the end of the book.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. The next thing is school education.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and once again, we've got practical versus the way the school is set up for higher learning education.
Yeah. How do students learn from each other? Well, clearly, Hermione wants everybody to learn from her. Potions, for example. She's there, she's standing up, she's trying to get Snape's attention, And
yeah, at one point she literally does jump out of her seat and be like, I know it!
Like
why aren't you answering my hand?
And a second time when she's very nervous about learning how to fly on the broomstick.
Mm-hmm.
And she is basically giving everybody flying tips from, not Hogwarts history, Quidditch Through the Ages.
Is that the one she checked out for that? Because
Right.
Harry was reading it from Ron. She may have gotten it as well.
I feel like it was
There's a
Quidditch Through the
specific
Ages.
book she does get tips from.
Let me check.
We'll circle back on that point.
Yes, Quidditch Through the Ages.
Okay.
Ah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You are the Hermione of this group.
Yeah. I like to read. I'm a big nerd. I like big books. I feel like they do learn some things through Hermione. I mean, part of the reason why I think that they're often paired off in groups as well is because they know that it's easier to learn together than it is separately.
Yeah, as much as they seem resistant to working with and learning from Hermione, when Ron and Harry try to work together, both with their minimal knowledge, things do not come out great. But especially in potions class.
Especially in potions class.
But as we see them learn to work more and more together, and as is it in Charms class that Ron and Hermione are paired up?
I believe so.
They start to do a lot better, they find out, because Harry is able to be very relaxed and take everything in and see a bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Hermione is very logical and can solve puzzles and very much has the answer to a certain thing right away.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron is more of he adds a lot of practical to that, because both of them are in their own way logical, whereas he's like, okay, but we couldn't reasonably do that thing. Here's what we should probably actually do.
Well, for a perfect example, Ron is from a wizard family, as where Harry and
Hermione are not.
So he knows a lot more
about the limitations and things you can and can't do with magic,
mm-hmm.
and just in general how the wizarding world works.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, when Malfoy challenges Harry to a duel, Harry doesn't know what a wizard's duel is, but Ron automatically came in and said, "I'll be your second." It wasn't until afterwards that they decided, he kind of told Harry what a wizard duel was.
And but he did more than tell him what a wizard duel was. And this is a good example of he can practically say, here's what we can and can't do here.
Mm-hmm.
Because he looked at that situation and went, okay, here's what I know about actual wizard duels.
Yeah.
Here's what will probably happen based on Malfoy's skill level and your skill level, and if all else fails, punch him in the face.
Yeah, exactly. Just punch him in the nose.
You won't see it coming.
It'll be fine. Throw down the wand, punch him in the nose. It'll be fine. And let's face it, I'm pretty sure Harry could take him in a fight. He seems like a scrappy little guy. I think there's a lot there for education that they learn from each other. For the flying as well, Harry automatically said up, and the wand ended up in, the wand.
The broom.
The broom ended up in his hand. He was so excited because this was one thing that he was going to excel at, that he knew right away he felt a connection to. And I think he almost was happy that Hermione was having so much trouble. That finally, here's something he's good at.
And he was instinctively good at it. He just knew and he felt confident. And part of it, I think, was because he was confident, because he wanted to learn to fly more than anything else. That was his main thing he wanted to be able to do.
Yes. And
I think he felt so grounded in that he was just like, I'm going to do this and it is going to happen for me, and it did. I feel like most of flying is confidence.
Yes, and I think that he just wants that freedom. He just senses that it's something that he wants. I just think about when I read that section, that's another part where Harry just came into his own.
Yeah, and they were all, let's face it, they were all a little bit thrilled that Malfoy had been doing it wrong for years.
Exactly. Who wasn't? I was thrilled. Malfoy.
And that's the difference there, too, between faux confidence and real confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Because Malfoy felt the need to brag about it so much that he could do it, probably because he wasn't feeling as confident as some of the other students.
I don't know though. I feel like
I feel like that was a little bit of a mask. Like, yeah, I'm definitely the best. I've done it. I think maybe he definitely had flown. It's just that I feel like he was not as good at it as he let on.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, but I think that's a lot of the waves with Draco. He uses bravioso. Is bravioso a word?
Yes.
Okay.
You're good.
That
Bravado.
Bravado. Ah, there you go. Bravado.
I just thought you were being fancy for Harry Potter.
Fancy? Yes. No, that's probably a Harry Potter spell. So he uses bravado, I think, to really just like mask how he's really feeling. Which is probably the opposite of Harry, because I think Harry kind of shies away from things like that. He's not an overly boastful individual.
No.
So...
But if he feels like he's right about something, he will tell you.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's willing to stand up for what he believes in, which is always a good thing. Oh yes, what they learned about life from Hogwarts.
A lot of education in Hogwarts is planned.
Yes.
And it's not just planned that they're going to learn school. It's planned that they're going to learn socially as well.
Yes.
And Dumbledore lets them get away with a lot of things and allows them to be caught as part of life's lessons, as in, you know what, you mess up and you get caught and these are consequences, but also if you get away with it, for how long does he let you get away with it? Because he knows what you're doing. He said to Harry when they find the mirror, and we're at that point already in the book here, that he doesn't need the cloak to become invisible.
No.
So, in other words, Dumbledore's a skilled enough sorcerer that he knows how to make himself invisible through other means.
Back to McGonagall. So, back to the broom flying and McGonagall. So, Harry and Draco fly up in the air, and Draco has Neville's Remember All.
This is my favorite, by the way. Keep going. It's my
So
favorite.
Draco has Neville's Remember All, and he throws it up in the air, and Harry dives for it and catches it right before it hits the ground and sort of rolls and sort of is like, I got it. And stern McGonagall comes out, screaming Harry's name, basically, makes him run into the school, doesn't say a word to him, and Harry knows that he's in trouble. They weren't supposed to be on the broom. He was not supposed to be on the broom, and he knows that he's about to be expelled. Like, he feels it in his bones, and he is terrified they're going to send him back to the Dursleys. He's thinking about how maybe he can just stay on with Hagrid and be his assistant, and because, Hagrid...
Live life in the hut with Hagrid.
Exactly. And that also kind of scares him as well, because all of his friends will become witches and wizards, but whatever he has to do to not go back to the Dursleys. And all this runs through his head while stern McGonagall is not talking to him, just sort of walking. And he knows that there's consequences to what he has done. And I think it shocked him so much, and it pleased me so much, and it really makes me happy with McGonagall when she drags Wood out of the class and says, I found you a seeker. And we have to win Quidditch this year, and here's your seeker.
Youngest seeker in 100 years.
Youngest seeker in 100 years. And Harry is, like, shocked. And at the same time, she's like...
at the same time she's praising him. She's like, don't you think this lets you get away with whatever you want, because I will be on that.
You better be practicing. You better be a good seeker, because if not, I'm going to get you expelled. And you're like, fair. He was doing
the trade-off is work hard at being a seeker, do a good job, always show up for practice, don't cause any problems for Wood.
Yeah.
Be a team player, and I will ignore the fact that you just were on your broom when you shouldn't be. And Draco, of course, didn't get in trouble because he wasn't seen on the broom.
Exactly. So
Harry was the one who got caught.
I think that I mean, there's some life lessons there about don't be getting caught. Just saying.
Well, and that's the point back to Dumbledore and the mirror. He let them get away with that for a while until he thought it was going to be dangerous.
Yes.
And he had to step in. And, you know, when Harry says, how did you know? He's like, I don't need a cloak to become invisible.
Dun, dun, dun. Maybe he's in this room right now.
So there's very little that goes on at that school that Dumbledore doesn't know about.
So, well, and exactly. So I just feel like...
It's mostly harmless mischief. The kind of mischief he feels like you need to push your own boundaries and grow as a person and learn life lessons and get consequences.
I mean, you know, all work and no play. They learn a lot about life at Hogwarts. They learn a lot about themselves at Hogwarts. I think that the lessons that they're learning are not just for in school. I'm just trying to think about the first day in potions. So they learn about Snape asks, what do you get when you mix something with something? And I can't remember what it is. And
Hermione's like, ooh!
Excited. But it's about, it was something very simple, like it was something to cure boils.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, he was asking the difference between two different names for Wolfsbane.
Monkshood and Wolfsbane. And it was he said, what's the difference between Monkshood and Wolfsbane? And of course Harry didn't know the difference, and the point is that they were the exact same thing, just with different names. So...
and then he's like, and it also goes by these 3 other names.
It also goes by this. So it's not just education. I think also knowing what monkshood is, I'm pretty sure that's a pretty poisonous plant, is probably not a bad thing to have. It grows in people's backyards here, right? It grows here. Tell your cats not to eat it.
Yeah.
So it's probably not a bad thing to learn.
Tell your cats not to eat it. Well, I mean, you more so shoo and physically remove cats away from it.
My cat eats everything. Literally.
Oh, things that cats wouldn't normally want to eat. Your cat is truly a...
He loves plums and avocados. I don't know, what are they learning from Hogwarts? They learn how to be witches and wizards and be the best person that they can be. The best witch and wizard that they can be.
There you go.
There you go.
Inside and out.
Inside and out. Slick. Yay.